We welcome you to Cloud Summit 2020. Cloud Summit 2020 is an initiative of Incubate Inc. to incorporate best practices of cloud computing and data migration technologies using enhanced cloud services across all vertices of the industry. For the first session today, I invite Dr. Ajay Datta, founder and CEO of XGen Technologies. He would be talking to us on role of cloud computing in digital transformation. Dr. Ajay Datta is an IT expert who has designed DataMail, a service to create email IDs in our vernacular languages. He is also credited with developing a made in India video conferencing application, VideoMeet, that was qualified as one of the top 10 contenders for Made in India Video Conferencing Innovation Challenge, hosted by Ministry of Electronics and Information and Technology. Over to you, Dr. Datta.
Thank you, Anamika. Thank you for organizing this absolutely amazing and much needed event for cloud. Thank you, Incubate India, for doing this. In this pandemic situation, the biggest savior, if you see, is our internet and applications. Whether it is video conferencing via Zoom or Google or VideoMeet or whatever, or we use FaceTime or we use WhatsApp, whatever has been our mechanism, ultimately these technologies has been a savior for us, and they are all on cloud. If you just don't know that, cloud does not mean the clouds which give us rain. Cloud is something which we talk, which is not visible for an infrastructure, which is available, not visible to you physically, but accessible to you physically. That's basically cloud. This has many technical things in it. I will take you through a little bit around them, but let us just understand what is cloud. So if I can tell in a very layman language, a cloud is a computer system that provides users with shared access to on-demand computing resources via the internet. So let me just repeat again, and go slow. A cloud is a computer system that provides users with shared access for on-demand computing resources via the internet. What it really means. So could you have a system which could have some computing resources, 4 CPU, 8 GB RAM? Could you increase them on the fly? So you need not to buy a RAM separately, computing separately, and set up in your office and wait for delivery. You can just tick somewhere in the cloud service provider and your computing resources went more or reduce if you don't need them. And this is a very fundamental power. A lot of time I compare this requirement with having a office in a mall where you could go from 100 square feet to 2000 square feet to 10,000 square feet, but you have not built it. You can just go. Obviously, in a physical world, there are many limitations attached to it, but on a cloud environment, it depends on the cloud service provider. If he has the investment, if he has the resources, then you can actually virtually go anywhere. The famous examples are Amazon, Azure from Microsoft. They are very famous examples in the world, and we all know that the limitations to one company is not definitely there by them. You can virtually go as much as you want. Let us take another example. You all know our Arogya Setu app. How does Arogya Setu app works? So where's the data? Where it is hosted? How a application with almost 16 crore users could use that app? Just imagine how much contact tracing is happening, how much data is being traveling, how much data is going online, and it is using this data to find corona patients. This entire thing is done over the cloud as a backend. We are using a small piece of software to send the data and get the result out of the cloud application which is installed there. And you could see that nobody knew this is going to scale so much. So how much data you deploy, how much servers you deploy, how much application you deploy, and if you want to host it on your own. And then you are limited then you will have limited bandwidth, you have limited resources and limited storage, and we do not know how much we can expect that customer or the citizens are going to use it, and how much data is going to come as the time passes, and how long, because we do not know how long corona is going to be. In these kind of scenarios where everything is almost uncertain, nothing is certain, you are but much better with a cloud infrastructure. The usefulness comes with, my point of view, 4 very specific points: the resource utilization, scalability and elasticity, reproducibility by way of programmatically, and reliability through redundancy. I think if I cover them in 4: resource utilization, where you know that these resources are going to be less or more, I can grow. If my requirement is high, I can grow. So let's say example of a university or a college, when they announce the results, they need a lot of bandwidth at that time, lot of data at that time, but not throughout the year, because nobody is using that result announcement site for the whole year. So could you have in one day, almost all lakhs of students of the university are going to access that result site. So you need that data at that time. So could you enhance the data only for 2 days, enhance the resources only for 2 days, scale only for 2 days, ensure there is a reliability and redundancy on 2 days, and then reduce that requirement and pay less, and you need not to invest money, which gets obsoleted in technology, you know, very fast as the time passes. That's very, very important. So how do you differentiate when you should do cloud and when you should invest in your own? So very important thing, I believe, is availability. How critical it is for you to have a availability of the infrastructure. So let us say, for example, you have your own payroll system and you are 50 employees. You are using it in your own setup. Even if it is not available for few hours, you are okay, most probably. It will not kill the company. It will not kill the infrastructure. It doesn't impact the employees, and it can come again if it is cheaper for you that way. But if you are serving something to the customer who are going to access 24/7, just like email, just like video conferencing, just like ERP online or a payroll system online, where lakhs of employees in different geographies are accessing that every now and then to manage their entire portfolio, entire work, entire teamwork. So you could not afford a downtime, because every hour is an expense, because employees cannot work or a customer cannot work, and you will lose them. So this is very, very critical. Availability becomes a very, very important thing. Capability and capacity is very critical. How much capability you are looking for in self-deployed resources or a resources on the cloud. So if you go to any cloud resource, there are many APIs and available which you need not to build. If you need to send a notification, if you want to do an email transaction, if you want to do a payment gateway, if you want to do NLP, if you want to do AI or ML, you need not to build everything. There are APIs. So if you go there on a cloud infrastructure, you can use them. Very, very simple, just attached with the API and you are ready to go. Very, very important. Network and bandwidth latency. So if you are using your own, you are obviously limiting to whatever you have taken. And as I shared there in the past, that you cannot increase immediately. In a cloud infrastructure, you could just see the thrust, and most of the time it is just automated. You can just automate it. If the threshold reaches 70% of the required attached bandwidth, you can just grow another 25% or 20% like that. And this can be done even on CPU. This could be done even on network bandwidth. This could be done even on memory. So all those things, and very important thing, the IOPS, the read-write capacity on hard disk. If the data is written more or taken more, then you can increase those capacities on the fly and just automate them by setting up the rules there. This is very, very important. And when you go on a cloud, you need not to buy a very high-end infrastructure. So you can use the commodity components, you can just attach them together and use cloud technology to make it as one, look at as one, and distribute your load across the devices. Very, very simple. So who cares about cloud? So to me, end user don't care where you host it. End user wants availability. So from my point of view, there are two direct people who are looking for cloud: system administrators. Very, very important. They are supposed to run the systems. They help automate the operations. They help automate the processes and provide services to the end users like us. And developers who build applications. So people who are building applications, they would love cloud infrastructure because a lot of power comes along with the cloud. It's not just the hosting of application. So if you are attaching lots of, so if you are looking, as I told in the past, if you are looking for chatbots, AI, ML, image storage, algorithm, lot of data is available, lot of APIs are available on the fly, and you can just use them immediately in your applications. And because they are just there where you have hosted, so the latency is not there, the response time is much faster, and you just pay as you go. Most important thing which brings in the cloud is this: you pay as you go. So there are many service models, as you know, in cloud. So infrastructure as a service, what does it mean? So you could say virtual servers, networks, firewall. As I shared, AWS and Azure is a very good example for infrastructure as a service. Second is a platform as a service. So you could deploy applications without even managing the virtual servers, like Google App Engines, Heroku. These are very simple, famous examples which you have. Software as a service, ready-to-use software applications. We all use them, right? We all the time use them. Office 365 by Microsoft, Gmail by Google, and Salesforce by Salesforce. There are many, many applications which we use all the time. And then the functions as a service, if you see. So the functions which I just shared, that IO based services, SMS based services, these are simple functions which you could use as a service, and they are all available to you only as a service. You need not to actually host the entire application to build them. That's kind of nutshell to know about cloud infrastructure, cloud services. And if there are any questions, Anamika, I am happy to answer, or I think we can take it at the end as time goes. Thank you very much for inviting me, Anamika. Anamika, you are on mute.
So I said, as of now, I don't see any questions. We'll come back to it later. Okay, there's one question that has come up. How can we create our own cloud servers?
Yeah, of course. To create a cloud server, you need to probably contact a infrastructure provider like HP or Dell. They can really help you, or Red Hat. So there's a combination of a hardware and a software which goes into, and they both have, all the three people which I have named have technologies available you could take, or there are enough resources available open source. So if you do not want to really go to the companies which owns the technologies available, you could go online and look for how to set up a cloud infrastructure. There are many components required. I would certainly recommend, if you have not done so, first you depend on a system administrator who has done it before, or who has an experience, or talk to a company. That will be much more helpful, because ultimately it is not just building the cloud infrastructure. Ultimately, cloud customers are going to come and they will demand an SLA, and they will put penalties. You don't want to get into the trap of not able to serve them. So I've built a solid infrastructure. It's a great business to be in, but have a solid knowledge and support team to achieve that. Thank you.
Right, sir. So there's another question that has come up: how capable the cloud is to store data?
Yeah, of course. There is no difference. Data is stored at in the hard disks, right? And how better infrastructure is available to manage those hard disks defines everything. So if you are in a cloud, you are much better, because then there are RAIDs, there are large SANs which are available, there are large NAS which are available. So there is a storage attached networks, there is a network attached storage. All those technologies are available. Some are file level, some are block level. So it depends on, but you can be rest assured that when you are storing a data on cloud, most of the time the data is stored on a very redundant hardware, and if you are taking a service, that can be very easily backed up and replicated, so that you always have 2 copies of your data. That is very easily available on the cloud.
Right, sir. So another question, that is, how expensive is cloud?
So cloud is very subjective answer, Anamika. It's like buying a car or renting a car. What is expensive, right? So if you are going to rent a car every day for 8 10 hours, is should be compared with buying a car. Then you have to maintain that car, then you have to see that insurance, petrol, and if you do the accident sometime, then you have to repair all those costs versus renting a car. It is simply like that. How much cost you are going to incur if you are going to build your infrastructure at your own, then hire a manpower to manage it, then run the electricity to manage it, run the internet to manage it. If it goes down, then how do you build a redundancy around it? This cost is one side and hiring at one side. I think any company who has a very limited requirement, less than 50 employees, less than 100 employees, they will just love the cloud. Then they should not rather build their own infrastructure. It is not worth it to focus on something which you are not really expert of. Leave that to somebody. It is very simple. It is very cheap.
Right. There's a very interesting question that has come up. It says, how will 5G affect the cloud service?
5G will enhance the requirement of cloud service from my requirement. 5G has no relation with cloud as such directly. It is like 4G, 3G. So just to tell you, every G has a more bandwidth available to you, so you can access more data. So ultimately, it gives you a speed. So you can say that you are likely to get almost a 1 gig speed rather than 100 MB speed today, which theoretically 4G can offer. So if you are going to have a 1 gig speed, you can fetch live data instantly. So you could actually download the full Netflix video or a full 3 hour video, maybe in a matter of 10-15 seconds. And you are just done, and then you have a downloaded data on your iPad or phone and you can watch it. So this is going to increase the requirement of the cloud because a lot more data is going to be available on cloud. 5G will definitely push more people to put their data on cloud, not in their own offices. That way, cloud requirement and cloud services are likely to increase.
Right. So it's a good future for cloud services in time to come.
Of course, yes. So cloud is a future for sure. Cloud is today, cloud was past, cloud is going to be future because we do not want to run anything. We want to be virtual, right, all the time. And now with this pandemic situation, we have learned to embrace virtuality, right? We are having this conference, Anamika. Could you imagine in Incubate that you would do a virtual conference and not physical conference, right? We have all learned that, right? And these are all conferences which are easy, very cost effective, very powerful, and you will be able to bring people from across the country. If you do a conference in Delhi, for example, it is very difficult to bring in speakers to Delhi, make them stay, make them in a hotel, plan and spend lakhs of rupees, and you achieve the same thing. Right now, you spend almost nothing you have to invest time, which is most expensive for sure. But infrastructure wise, you are going to deliver much more powerful content than you could have done it. We have all learned that, including everybody. So this is the future. That virtual way is going to remain, whether there is a corona or no corona. From my point of view, even we are going to have a hybrid world. Some people would like to still do virtual, but there is certainly going to be some events, some speakers virtual, so that we are having more virtual things in the West and we can actually have more scalability.
So do you see that once the pandemic is over, we will stay put to virtual grounds, or we would itch to meet people and to get together in groups is going to go higher than before? How do you see that?
So I don't think it's a 0-1 situation. It's a hybrid situation, I believe. So if I could avoid a meeting, if I could address an event in Kerala, I would have never traveled to Kerala to speak, for example, because it takes me 4 days to plan, 3 days to go to speak an hour there, right? Right now, I need not to spend even 10 minutes extra. I can just go online and end it online, and that's it. It is as simple as that. So if you see that this is the future, right? Ultimately, if you want to speak, so you can see our prime minister is speaking to the global leaders online. This has never happened before, right? The people used to come, they will meet, they will come in a protocol. Now this entire expense and cost gone, and it is much more easier, better, and that repository of that knowledge is also available online. That's the beauty. People have learned to consume content by virtual events, through virtual events, and this is the very powerful thing.
Right, sir. There's another question that has come up. It says, what is the future of decentralized cloud computing?
So it's a decentralized already, right? So what does it mean? So there is no one server, there is no one service provider. You could actually take your application to multiple cloud service providers. We do, and CDNs is a real example of decentralized cloud computing already. So when you use a content delivery network. Hello? No, I think I am able to. Hello? Could you hear me? I think I'm fine here.
Yes, you are audible, sir.
Yeah, my voice is going. So Anamika, actually you have a problem in your mic rather from here. So that's okay. So idea is that I have, what I was saying is there are many decentralized net cloud applications. Example are there, and they are doing very well. It's happening, and I am sure this is one of the ways to build your business. And which technology, which computing power, which model you want to adopt is up to you. All of that.
Right. So you mean to say that the whole adoption is basically our prerogative of how we want to do, how much we want to do, whether we want to do we want to rent it or we want to buy it. It's totally it's a flexible choice that we all have.
Absolutely. So if you see, it's basically not just rent and buy. There are many pros and cons. As I shared in my initial talk, that there are many pros and cons of going over a cloud and building your own infrastructure to host it. This is very, very important. So if you are aware about those pros and cons, so for example, if you have something which is related to your intellectual property, your own software code, and you want to ensure that nobody else have an access outside your office, and these are kind of legal contracts you have for complying with any customer data, you would like to host it inside. If you are okay, and these are the contractual obligations, and if your customer has allowed, and you can host it outside, and you can get the benefit of, as I told you, more resources, increase resources on demand, better bandwidth consumption, no manageability. I don't need a IT infrastructure guy in my office and a team to save that cost. All those benefits you get. So it's basically a scale benefit you get at the end of the day.
Out.
Yes, sir, Anamika, you are back.
So yeah. So what are the security aspects that are provided with the cloud?
So all kind of security, of course, depending upon basic securities are always available, and what you build, clouds and infrastructure. So let us say, for example, you want to host a website or incubate on cloud, for example, and you want to use that infrastructure. Setting up an SSL or not is absolutely your choice. If you want to increase, if you are building a payment gateway, you want to set up an SSL or not is your choice. However, if you are not doing the security of your application, you are as vulnerable as anywhere else. So these securities will come. Now the infrastructure security goes out of your hand. Infrastructure security goes within the cloud infrastructure. So they protect you for denial of service attacks, from hackers attack, tightening the operating system, firewalls. All those things will protect you. You need not to worry about them. They come by default. So most of the cloud service provider give you by default. So these two things have to be separated out and seen when we talk about security.
Right, sir. Okay, I think this is the last question I'm going to take. Sir, if cloud service provider violate the SLA, then what will be the process?
So it's a no straight answer, right? So when you sign up with any cloud service provider, you have to see that what is the dispute resolution mechanism, what is the support mechanism they have. Is it online? Is it chatbot? Is there any phone number? Do you know somebody? So you could very simply see that when you are signing up. And there are mostly they have their ticket system. You can go online, file your ticket, and somebody will address that ticket via email and maybe via chat, and then it gets resolved. Most of the time, 99% of the time, your problem will be resolved by raising a ticket and chat with them. If not, then probably you can call to their call center if something is not aware, or if you know somebody, you just call them, the matter is resolved. SLAs are also linked with the penalties. So I don't know if these people, the large service provider, have the mechanism of these penalties, but you can certainly sign an SLA and introduce that term where the guarantee of SLA is maintained and there is a penalty clause. But there are many cloud service providers which offer that.
Right. Okay. There is another question that has come up. I'm so sorry. It says, what will be the impact of quantum computing on cloud computing application?
Oh, so they're two completely different thing, right?
Yeah.
Right. So if you see, we have to see cloud computing and cloud computing are completely two different things. Which I understand, cloud computing is basically where you are superimposition and entanglement to perform computation. So it is related to the computational power of computer. Cloud computing is basically you are talking about the hosting of the applications, resources on demand. So you could have actually a quantum computers also available as a cloud infrastructure as one of the items. It is possible to have that. So these are about quantum computations which are to be done, which are very, very strong. So basically what they call it as phenomena for superposition and entanglement to do the perform the computational computations through the computers. So if you bring that power in the cloud, you can bring that, but this is related to the computing rather than the cloud.
Right, right, sir. So thank you very much for your time, and we look forward to more questions over as the discussion progresses.
Thank you very much, Anamika. Thank you for inviting me.
My pleasure, sir. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you very much.